I have a co-host on today's call as well. We got Peter Carter. Peter, you want to say a quick hello?
Hello, hello. How are we all? We
Good,
can't get a
mate.
response,
Good,
can we?
good. Peter is my partner in crime. If for whatever reason the internet gods are not favourable, he will take over, tell you some dad jokes.
I've prepared an interpretive dance for you, John.
I just wanted to introduce Peter. He's also going to monitor the chat and the comments. I aim to play full out and deliver some absolute gold as I'm going through this. If you want to ask a question, by all means do so. Pete's going to keep an eye on the chat, and if there's anything that you want to ask as we progress through this, by all means, I want to make this a very interactive discussion. So can I just get a thumbs up? You can see my screen. Lisa, I don't believe I can see you. For some reason, video is not sharing, but that's okay because I'm going to use my imagination. That's cool. You can loiter in the background, Lisa. That is all good. So I'd just love to start out by just hearing where you're joining us from, because in the registrations, we had about 50 registrations, people from all around the place. Just let me know where you're tuning in from. I know that Greg's down there in Melbourne. Lisa, you're there in Victoria as well. I'm standing here at the not so sunny Gold Coast today. Port Macquarie, Carolyn's in Port Macquarie. Tanya's in Melbourne. Well, I'd just like to formally welcome you all. G'day, Mark in Sydney. Long time no speak, mate. I hope you're doing well. Brisbane, sunny in Melbourne. That's good to hear, Greg. I'm glad the sun's shining there, mate. So for you joining us here today, these people you see on screen, they are some wonderful human beings. This is Robin and Lindsay that head up Have a Feed. They're a local Gold Coast-based organisation that help the disadvantaged here at the Gold Coast. And every year, so they're very focused around feeding the homeless and just generally providing community support. They put on a massive Christmas party every single year. And because you showed up today, we are going to make sure that every single person has a meal at that Christmas party. So I want to say a big thank you. They do awesome work. So thank you for showing up today. In terms of what we're going to cover, I'm going to keep it really punchy. I'm going to bring up some examples on screen and actually show you what's working. So give you a high level of what constitutes good SEO. This has been profound for us in 2020. I'm going to show you some examples of what's working for other clients. So I guess we have the privilege of being across a lot of different websites. I'm going to give you an understanding as to what actually constitutes a great SEO campaign, show you what the pieces of the puzzle actually look like, how you can dominate, and make sure there's some time in there for Q&A. Does that sound okay? Can I get a little thumbs up in the chat? Cool. All right. Make sure you do stick around. I've got a resource at the end that I will be sharing. So this will make sure that you can go and share your magic with the world. Stick around to the end. So just for the people that don't know me, I've been doing this for about 20 years. I got a little bit of gray hair poking through the beard. But in that time, we delivered thousands of websites and had the opportunity to work with some amazing brands, and SEO is a big part of all of their strategies. I'm also the proud author of a book, Love at First Sight, How to Build the Website of Your Dreams. So I actually published this around 6 years ago, and I was reflecting on the content. I was sort of thumbing through it the other day, and a lot of the principles still very much ring true. There is a whole chapter in there around content and also information around technical SEO. So if you want to dive into this in a bit more detail, then that is definitely a resource that you can do that with. So why am I here talking about SEO, and what makes me someone who is somewhat qualified to do that? And the reason is, this is what we use to grow our business. So 2020 has been a very interesting year for a lot of people. It has been a year of growth here at 5x5. And something that has really grown is our organic traffic through to our website off the back of Google. And this is largely due to a bunch of efforts that I have been involved in. Basically the first lockdown, I locked myself away for a couple of weeks and added about 30,000 words of content to our website. And that is largely the results of the traffic growth that I'm going to show you. So it is profound and it can have a big impact on a business. What a lot of people don't realize is there's actually only 10 positions on the front page of Google. So if you're not maximizing and leveraging these strategies, you can be pretty sure that your competitor is. And we, as I said, have the honor of being across a lot of different clients' websites. So we're consistently delivering around 10 websites every single month. And the awesome thing is we get access to their Google Analytics. So we can see the results of the different strategies that we're implementing for our clients in terms of what's actually working out there in the real world. Over that time and in delivering these websites, we've extracted over 150 5-star Google reviews. Google reviews are a big part of local SEO, so we'll sort of touch on that today. We've got an amazing team of SEO experts, so technical SEO people, copywriters, and we have an in-depth understanding as to what a good SEO strategy and process actually looks like. And when we stick to the plan, we get great results. So that sort of, makes us the experts from an SEO perspective, because we're also physically building the websites. So what you see here on screen is a Rubik's Cube. Now, the reason there is a picture of a Rubik's Cube is I became mildly obsessed with these things about a year and a half ago, when I was on a boys' camping trip, and one of the guys had that there. And when I first picked it up, I thought, how the heck do you solve this thing? There are so many combinations and permutations. And just when you get one layer right, you go and break it again, trying to solve the next layer. So I feel that a Rubik's Cube is a tremendous analogy for SEO. And when you actually break it down, it's pretty simple. It's just literally going through solving layer by layer by layer and memorizing a few what they call algorithms or just sequences or steps. And now I can sit on the couch and I can sort of do it with my muscle memory. My record is about 1:40. And once you know the formula, it's pretty easy. It sort of gets in there. So the end result is turning a very complex thing into something that can be solved quite easily. So that's very much the same for SEO. And what I'm going to try and do in terms of the information I'll present today is just trying to sort of simplify it and just debunk maybe some of the myths and just show you what a good SEO process actually looks like. Does that sound okay? Cool. So in terms of SEO, why should you care about SEO? What's it going to do for your business? Well, 68% of all online experiences start off the back of Google. It is the first place that people start researching a service, a product, or a business. And in those results, if you're in the mix, it's going to build your authority. It's going to establish you as a leader in your industry, and it allows you to dominate that digital space. As I said, this has had a profound impact on us and our business and has created a very healthy sales pipeline. So the interesting thing for us is we get a lot of project inquiries over the weekend where we come in on a Monday morning and there might be 4 or 5 different project inquiries just there when people have been Googling around on a Saturday night searching for a website designer, and leads basically show up day in, day out. I'll show you the graph in terms of the traction that we've had from our SEO. And you'll see that very much this is in and around compound growth. So small incremental little changes done over time snowball, and they create what we call this evergreen source of traffic. And that's how it's very different to, say, paid advertising, in the fact that the moment you turn off the paid advertising, the traffic stops. SEO, that continues. If you continue to invest in your SEO, it will pay dividends for many, many years to come. So what I'm going to do is just show you what's happened on our website. Now, what I'm using here, this is a tool called SEMrush, semrush.com. It is a paid tool. Let me just show you. And if someone wants to dig into this in a bunch more detail, you can actually sign up for a free 7-day trial. I think you get full access, or access at least to the base level account, which will give you most of the things that you actually need. From a pricing perspective, it's like $100 a month. And if you're Fair Income and serious about your SEO, then it's well worth the investment. So if I punch in our web address into this tool here, and if we look at it over time, really what this is showing us is the traffic that is generated off the back of Google organic. So if I go to Google and I type in, say, web designer Gold Coast, it's not measuring the paid traffic. It is measuring traffic through from, say, the map listing, or here in the organic search results. So ultimately, this is #1 position. This is what this is measuring. It is measuring searches off the back of Google. So if I started this business back in 2006, coming up on 15 years in business. And you can see, going back even 2014, I didn't have a lot of traffic to my website. I was a website designer that wasn't generating a bunch of traffic. Most of our work came through referrals, and I hadn't put a lot of emphasis in terms of marketing ourselves. Obviously, as I grew and scaled our team, it was really important that we continued to, what we call, eat our own dog food, and demonstrate and sort of display that market leadership in terms of the principles that we were promoting to our clients. So as you can see, as we move through the years, this is when it really started to kick into gear. And as of last month, we were up to about 3,500 uniques off the back of Google. So going from basically 0 to hero, all in the space of about 6 years. So it was a slow march. And that sort of comes back to the consistency that I was talking about, in the fact that, you know, in that time, I wrote a book. There was a heap of content that was added to our website. So it's, I guess the first sort of key distinction and thing to take away from here is SEO is a long-term play. There are some quick wins that you can definitely get some runs on the board with, but it really is in and around having that long-term vision. The other interesting thing that this tool does is it actually shows you how you compare to your competitors. And this here, this axis here shows you the organic keywords, so the volume of different keywords, the number of different keywords that our website actually ranks for. And in this instance, it's around 877. The y-axis shows us how much traffic those respective keywords actually generate. So in an ideal world, we want lots of traffic from lots of different keywords, which there puts us up into this top right-hand quadrant. And you can see there's a competitor that generates a little bit more traffic than us, but they have less keyword coverage. So this is definitely the sort of position that we want to be in. Another interesting thing that we can see here is in and around branded traffic versus non-branded traffic. So an example of branded traffic would be going to Google and typing in our business name. That's the name of our brand, 5x5. Then we only have really 2 keywords that are sort of linked to our business. you can see the vast majority of traffic is actually coming through here from a non-branded traffic perspective. So I'm just having a look. Danny Isaacs asked the question, it appears as though there's a large spike coincided with the start of paid traffic. Is there any correlation? My answer to that would be no, Danny, just in the fact that, well, I can turn this off. This actually measures paid traffic as well. And I can see this on a smaller scale. We don't spend a lot of money in Google, say, compared to other businesses. It's usually between $750 to say $1,000 a month. Really, the difference there was we just started investing heavily in content, and at the same time probably started spending more money as well. So short answer to no, it would be no from a direct correlation perspective. So the other awesome thing that this tool does is shows you what we're actually ranking for. So these are our top organic keywords. If I view the details here, I'll just zoom out a little bit. I'll take that out over all time. The other cool thing this does, it actually shows you when there's like a Google algorithm update as well. So it looks like there was an algorithm update, when was it, 24th of November, and there has been a sort of, I guess, a direct little kick. And you'll see there's always little peaks and troughs. That's the nature of SEO, where it's sort of up and down, up and down, up and down. As long as over time there's a gradual increase, you're heading in the right direction there. So what this page here shows us is what we're actually generating our traffic for. And you can see that these more generic search phrases like website designers Gold Coast, law firm website design company, legal website development, lawyer website developer. I'm going to dig into this and show you the strategy that we've used here to capture all these different keywords. And you can see the number of different positions that we occupy is really interesting. So there's a consistent theme there: accounting website design, attorney website designers, web developers Gold Coast, all the different variations on this. Now, at the start of this year, what I realized was, let me just go to our website. We were delivering a lot of projects. So as I said, on average, we were delivering, say, 10 projects a month, and we were working in a lot of different industry verticals. So what I decided to do was to start grouping and lumping these together. And the way we do this is through our portfolio or our work page. And at a glance, you can see all the different industries that we perform for. So just to give you an example, with accountants, what we then did was went and set up these very specific landing pages tailored purely to accounting website design. So what we did was we researched, so we can go here, we can go to this keyword magic tool, and what we can do is type in different seed keywords. So accounting website design. If I punch that in to this keyword magic tool, I identified that there were 70 unique searches for this keyword phrase, accounting website design, every single month. So then I said, well, let's set up a landing page in which that is highly optimized and geared for those specific search phrases. And it's not a massive search volume. 70 is not a big number for Australia-wide. That's Australia-wide, by the way. But even still, the intent behind the search, someone typing in accounting website design has a very specific intent in terms of they're probably an accountant who wants a website, right? So then we have like a sub headline that just shows variations on these keywords. So this was the primary keyword, accounting website design. Then we got accounting web designs, slight variation on that. We have testimonials from the different accountants that we have worked with. we have a video that is hosted on YouTube that just happens to have the same primary keyword that we're targeting, accounting website design. And this is a 60-second video saying 5x5 of the leaders in accounting website design. We have some content that is specific to accountants, and then what constitutes an awesome accounting website. We then have the different projects that we've been involved in from an accounting perspective. So they each have their own page. And then at the very bottom, we have frequently asked questions that are specific to accounting websites. So an example is like, what sort of accountants do you work with? And we work with forensic accountants, auditors, management accountants, cost accountants, all these different sort of keywords that would potentially be associated with that. So what we then demonstrated to Google is we have a very specific page with very specific content in and around a specific vertical. So is that making sense? Can I get a little feedback in the chat that this is sort of making sense? And I'll actually show you the results that so you can see here, when I type in this search phrase, after the paid advertising, we are sitting here in number 1 position. So then what we can do is we can rinse and repeat. We can do this for legal website design, which is basically this number 1 position here. We've got automotive website design. You can see here in some instances, it actually triggers the local business pack as well. So Google will always put a lot of emphasis on the Google My Business listing. And depending on the search phrase and whether there's a geographical intent, there was no geographical intent in this search phrase, but it still triggered the pack. And you can see here, we've basically got the pack listing and also number 2 listing there. So what we then did was just rinse and repeated this across all the different verticals. So even if we just delivered like one project in a specific industry, we want to demonstrate that we've got some experience in an industry. Real estate, physiotherapy, orthodontics, like we're getting pretty specific here, and some literally have like 5 or 10 searches every single month. But what it does is it just gives us tremendous depth and coverage. So what I'd really encourage you to do is think about how you can demonstrate industry-specific knowledge and how you can then build out that depth on your website. Because if you do, Google will love you for it. So what I might do is then show you an example of someone else who's done this really, really successfully. This is Stack Law. So what I'm going to do is punch Stack Law into this tool. We've been working with Stacks for over 5 years now. We've actually built them 2 websites. This is the second version of their website. There is a ton of depth in this website. And just let me show you the traffic graph over time. So before we launched their website, they were generating roughly around 300, 250 uniques a month off the back of Google. July, well, as of last month, it was roughly around 15,000. That is a 5,000% increase in traffic, which is pretty amazing. The sort of keywords that they are ranking for are a lot of different generic search phrases. So let's have a look. I'll just sort this via traffic. And you can sort of see instantaneously the sort of long tail, very specific search phrases that they're getting found for. So this one here, for some reason, joint tenants versus tenants in common, that yields them 470 unique visits off the back of Google every single month. Tenants in common. Section 32, mental health. Obviously, there's a lot of mental health issues around at the moment. That's generating them a lot of traffic. Their list goes on, and you can see all these number one positions that they have. So how have they done it? They have built out just really good landing pages in terms of all the different service offerings that they have. And I think the last count was, I don't know, 120, 150 different service pages that they have. The general anatomy of each one of these service-based pages is you can see that it's very structured. So if we look at the URL structure, so this is the address structure. It is a service they offer. They segment via either personal or business. They then have an overarching theme or category, which is family law. And then there's a specific service that's operating under that. So Google love order. If they see this nested structure from like a grandparent to a parent to a child, they just soak it up. They love it. And they know exactly what's what and what your website is about. Let me just close the bot. Sorry, I've got lots of windows open. There we go. So the anatomy of this page, generally there's just good content, right? So legal content, difficult to make look sexy, but Google love it, right? So roughly around 1,000 words of content. They've then got all these FAQs, so commonly asked questions around divorce and separation. Google love these things called accordions, where you ask a question and then answer that question. And they also have their divorce specialists dynamically fed through. So they're a team of 200 plus people. What this page is doing is only showing the divorce specialists, testimonials specific to divorce. Then news articles, it's actually pulling the parent category, which is family law, but still applicable. So there's usually stuff in here around divorce and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a page that's very, very specific around the topic. And the trust and validation, why stacks, and then just general sort of calls to action. So that is a very good way to structure a website. The other thing that they have been really, really prolific with is their content creation. I know Eleanor, I'm not sure if she's actually on the call, but she's the main driver behind this initiative. You can see, when was it, back in October, I think there's six blog posts. Previous months, they've seen a lot more. Yeah, Eleanor's there. Hello, Eleanor. Sorry, I didn't see you there. So she drives a lot of the content initiatives. And if we go into one of these, let's have a look. A really interesting one is, here we go. So this is a series. Essentially, this is a blog post, but it's a series, what they called Which Case One. It just makes content a little bit more interesting. So the general format of this is this is drawn on real world scenarios, stuff that's happened out there. And they say, could a daughter evict her parents? So that's pretty interesting sort of story, right? What actually happened? So here are the facts. Here are the case for the the plaintiffs and the case for the defendants. Maybe it's the other way around. So basically they lay it all out, and then I haven't read this one, and it asks me the question, which case won? And I'm just going to take a guess and say it was A. I was incorrect. Case B actually won. So it looks like it was the daughter. The daughter was victorious in this case. You've got all your social sharing built into that as well. And then they provide expert commentary on the court's decision. Why did the court actually, make this decision? So the end result is a really, really detailed blog post in and around a very specific topic. And you could imagine if you're doing this consistently 6 times a month over, say, 4 or 5 years, that's going to compound and grow. And that's where Stack Law is seeing this tremendous upkick in terms of traffic. So I'm hoping you're picking up on the theme here that content. Google love content. The people that post the best content, the most engaging content, are the ones that will be rewarded with the traffic. So one more example, which is, this is a local business. So it's a bricks and mortars business. And I think Ashley is actually on the call. Ashley heads up the marketing division there. Hello, Ashley. We built this website going back maybe 6 months now. Awesome family-based business. They've been here on the coast for years and years and years. They're a high-end product, so they work in a lot of big houses and commercial projects and hotels and all this sort of stuff. And what the website does is essentially tells their story really nicely in a very structured fashion. So if we just punch, we'll punch this website in, and I'll just show you the traffic that they've had in the last 6 months and the upkick that they've seen. So you can see here, prior to the site going live, it was generating roughly 150, and then it goes live, and as of last month, 1,224, which is pretty awesome in such a short period of time. And that's going to grow. That's like a 1,200% increase from a Google listings perspective. Now let's give you an example of a specific page from a product perspective in terms of what's working well. So you can see here, it has this nice structured approach where they've segmented via carpet, flooring, and commercial. And then if we go a layer deeper, say with home cinema carpet, fairly specific product. They've got content, very, very specific to this, samples, theatre room, carpet ideas and tips. And there's not a heap of content here, but this content was enough to get them a page one listing in which generates, I think, about 30 or 40 unique visits to the website every single month, which is pretty awesome. So then what they've done is they've rinsed and repeated that across all the different stuff that they do, whether it's hotels, whether it's commercials. Yeah, so that's just another really good example of someone that, and from a bricks and mortar perspective, has achieved tremendous results in a very short period of time. Obviously, they've been active with the blog as well. So that's the real key here, is having a blog that you're consistently adding to. At a minimum, you probably want to be adding at least one blog post to your website. And ideally, that is roughly around 500 to 1,000 words in total. So, do I have any questions about any of this? I'd love to just open that up a little bit. And has anyone got any sort of burning questions in and around anything that I have spoken about? Feel free to put it in the chat. Otherwise, I might crack on. I'm going to show you. Yeah, Lisa, this is recorded. You can pick up on the tail end of this. Okay, Angie, awesome question. How do we find out about what keywords to start with? So let me show you that. This here, this is the keyword magic tool. So what we can do with the keyword magic tool, I can put in a seed keyword. So in our instance, web design, Gold Coast. Then what it does is it goes away and it looks at all the related search phrases that it sort of groups together with this seed keyword. What I can then do is go through and cherry pick these. So I can create like a master list. This is what we call keyword research. And there's a bit of science behind it, a bit of psychology behind it as well. And the fact that a keyword or a search has different intent. Sometimes a specific word has a very different intent and is going to attract a very different type of visitor that maybe doesn't represent an ideal client or something like that. But in this instance, like these all look pretty good to me. Like I would love to rank for a lot of these different keywords. So as I go through, I can cherry pick each one of these. Maybe not cheap website design. In our instance, we're like not the cheapest website designers out there. So if I was to build a blog post on cheap website design, I probably actually don't want those sort of clients actually coming through and raising their hand and getting in touch. So utilizing this keyword magic tool, I can then go to my keyword manager, and you can see I've got a master list here. And every time I put my writing hat on and I sit down and I'm like, what am I going to write a blog post about today? I literally go to my seed keywords and I pick something and I focus on that. In this instance, I was doing some research this morning and I saw there's 20 searches on insurance web design. We've actually done 2 websites for insurers in the last 2 years, which means that I should probably build out another category in our work section for insurance web design. Not a massive search volume, but probably quite easy to rank for using that same framework. So does that answer your question there, Angeline? Or Angie? We have Greg Scott. Do you have examples comparing website traffic and overall revenue? That is a pretty open-ended question, Greg, in the fact that revenues are going to vary from industry to industry to geographical location. There are just so many variables in there. Maybe what I can do is I can pick up this discussion offline and see if I can give you some very specific examples. I can follow that up for you if you like, but there's just, the short answer is no, in the fact that we just need to know a little bit more about the industry segment or the vertical geographical location that you're operating in. Mike, do you recommend doing more blog posts or more landing pages to generate SEO traffic? Great question. If you were to focus your efforts between the two, which would you do? My answer to that would be the landing pages. So once you've got your landing pages built out, you can then dynamically feed through the blog posts. So I'll give you an example of where we're doing this. We've built out all our landing pages here in dentistry, and you can see it uses the same format. We've just happened to build 20 different dentist websites. And if I go to the very bottom, I probably need a few more FAQs in there. I've only got one. What we've done is there was one blog post that we'd written around dentistry website design. So what we're doing is dynamically feeding that into that landing page as well. This works so well because it creates this really tight interlinked structure within your website, almost like a cobweb or a web. And then it allows you to layer in those blog posts. So as Google come through to the page, they're seeing even more specific content in and around those blog posts. So I would definitely prioritize landing pages, then blog posts, Mike.
Hey, John, you had a question there from
All
as well.
Great questions. Now, what I might do is just talk a little bit about what constitutes a good SEO campaign. And step one is the keyword research. So we're just going through this. You want to get really clear on what people are typing into Google to actually find your products and services. From this, you can identify the low-hanging fruit. That insurance web design, that was low-hanging fruit for us. I'm literally going to go and do that tomorrow, and there'll be a page up. Quick, smart, super easy. Just need to generate a little bit of content, easily done. So then you can be very strategic on where you focus your energies rather than a scattergun approach. You're being laser focused because you know where the opportunities exist and where the volume of traffic's actually coming from. So the output from there should be a really clear list of keywords, which will form the foundation of your optimization process, and you're being super strategic. You know exactly what people are typing in to find your products and services. Step 2 is to optimize the website content. So making sure that the actual structure reflects the keywords you're targeting. I showed you examples of that, not only in our website, Stacks Law, Cross, they all use the same principle in terms of getting your foundation or your structure, your house in order, so that Google knows exactly what you are about. You then optimize and create content that aligns to those keywords. And there's a bunch of technical stuff in terms of like updating your title tags, your meta descriptions, your heading 1 tags, your content, and being very, very clear on your intent for each one of those pages. The end output is a refined website that Google will absolutely love. And the key here is to find a good balance between traffic and site psychology. There's no point having a heap of traffic through to your website if it doesn't look good, you don't have good photography, if there's no calls to action, if you're not sort of ticking all the right psychological boxes. So ultimately that's there where a good website design will balance against all this great traffic, because you can people raise their hand and they'll get in touch. So that's the balance that we're always trying to seek here. We can then do offsite optimization. So Elena, you actually asked a question around backlinking. So there's a tool that Google provide called Webmaster Tools that provides a whole bunch of technical feedback from Google in terms of how they're actually like indexing your site and if there's any errors and all that sort of stuff. So you need to make sure that's all sorted. We still utilize these things called Web 2.0 properties. So they're like little properties or websites that exist out on the website, out on the internet, that ultimately link back to your website. Same deal with directories. They essentially, directories are just listings. You know, you think of the old school yellow pages, it's a virtual version of that, where there's all these directories out on the internet that are linking back to your website. So 100% backlinking is still very relevant in 2020. And then obviously Google My Business optimization. So I showed you in when I did the Google search for, say, lawyer website design, a little Google My Business listing popped up in there. You want to make sure that's fully complete, that it's fully optimized, and that you have a ton of 5-star Google reviews, because that's the first starting point from a browsing experience on Google. If you can build that social proof, and in our instance, it's 152 5-star Google reviews, the highest rated website designer in Australia, which I'm pretty proud of, you can already set the tone for the experience that someone can expect. The output is just a greater footprint of the website out on the internet. And ultimately, Google is a popularity contest, and you want to make sure that you are one of the cool kids in town in their eyes. Step 4 is reporting. So basically, you want to set a baseline. This is where you are as of the 1st of December. Secondly, you are tracking specific keywords. So utilizing that SEMrush tool, you can actually see the movement. This is where you were at the start of the month, and this is where you ended up at the end of the month, and you rose 2 positions for the given keyword. And ultimately, you are tracking the website and the keyword positions. Any movement up or down, you saw that it was a wiggly graph. You want to look for trends. The end output should be detailed reporting and analysis on a month-to-month basis. It's that old Peter Drucker quote, what gets measured gets managed. So you want to keep that very much front of mind. And it ultimately is a fully transparent process in which you track the effectiveness of your activities. So it sometimes takes a few weeks for like a blog post to actually get indexed. That's probably a good lead into your question, James. James asked, what are the benefits of this keyword tool over, say, Google Analytics? So the key difference between SEMrush and Google Analytics is SEMrush just give you more visibility in terms of the keyword research, what people are actually typing in to find your products and services. Google Analytics is more sort of looking back in the rear view mirror, right? It's just all Google Analytics is showing you is what's happened in the past, what pages people have looked at, where they've come from, what are bounce rates, how long they've spent on a specific page, all this sort of highly sort of technical data, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So SEMrush is more focused in and around, here are the opportunities, here's where you currently stand, here's some low-hanging fruit, this is how you can maybe improve those positions. And it does all the reporting as well. You can sort of see traffic trends. And so there's a little bit of overlap, but that would be my simplistic answer to that, James. So we've covered a lot of territory. This handsome man here, Peter, you want to say a quick hello if you're still there? And
Yeah, I'm here. Yep. Hello there. How are we traveling?
Today, Peter heads up our digital strategy here at 5x5. If anyone is interested in jumping on a discovery call with Peter, we will do the following. So we get a really clear understanding as to who you are. So what you do, who you do it for, what do your product ecosystem look like, what does your engagement process look like, your business model, how you're putting dollars into a bank account, all that sort of stuff. The end result is we get a very good intimate understanding as to who you are and what you do. Also, you can see the competitive landscape. So this is really, really helpful because you can see what other people are doing to get results. What are they doing to succeed? What strategies are they using? What does their digital presence actually look like? What are the gaps and the opportunities that exist? You know, what are the little niches that we can hone in on? So you really get to know the competition. You'll get a good understanding as to what an amazing, remarkable solution looks like, just from a general sort of site psychology perspective. We've got a ton of examples of lots of different industries that we've been involved in. You get a very clear understanding of the process, how long it should take, what's required from an input perspective, what should it cost, all that sort of stuff. So Peter, if you can just put that link in the chat. There you go. You've already done it. Thank you.
All over it, mate.
There's a landing page set up. Put in your details, no obligation. If you just want to have a chat, we can dig into your business, and maybe where the opportunities lie. So what I'd love to hear, feedback is my fuel. What is your number one learning from today? Can anyone share that with me? Were there any light bulb moments, or was this all Mark? Mark said, really great. Thanks, mate. Greg Scott, structure and landing pages. Ask for your SEM login details. I would love to provide that, but my team may give me a big slap over the wrist. So go sign up for a trial. Honestly, we spend hours in this thing every single day. It is definitely worth the $99 US. Angie said, I feel like we can take our FAQs from clients and use them as blog posts. Now you're talking. That is literally, whenever I was in a sales conversation, I have a notepad, and every question that I get asked in that sales conversation, I write it down, and then I create a 500 to 1,000 word blog post, because the psychology there is, if someone's asking the question, then someone else is thinking it, and they're probably typing it into Google to ask as well. So I love that, Angie. Ashley, looking to more specific, more landing pages for specific collections. Love that. So that's another strategy. I spoke about like services or industries. You could do it for products or product ranges. So there's no reason why, even though that you're not a manufacturer as such, you can still be an authority in a specific brand. So there's a ton of searches in and around different brands on the internet. There's no reason why you can't own that space. And if you've got, 5 or 10 brands that you are the hero for, then you want to make sure that that's definitely represented on your website. So I love that, Ashley. Brian, for me, the benefit of SEO over advertising, that SEO keeps giving ROI, whereas advertising, when it stops, it stops. So 100%. Look, you want to have a foot in both camps, Brian. as I said, we send $1,000 to Google every single month, but at the same time, we spend a lot of time and effort in terms of creating content on our website. So ideally, you know, the number one is a dangerous number in business. So you don't want to have one thing that generates all your leads and inquiries. If you can diversify it, that's great. Caroline's, I need to buy SEM Rush. Mike Landon, 1,000 to 1,500 words, detrimental to have more. Not necessarily. So there was sort of there was some murmurings in and around people saying long form content was like detrimental to have on your website. So long form would be maybe like 2,000, 3,000 plus words. I think it's really in and around engagement. If there's content there for the sake of having content and it's fluff and it just doesn't, it's not engaging, Google will recognize that. Google are measuring time on page. They're measuring, you know, how you interact with the actual site, all this sort of stuff. So I'm a big fan of long form content, and some of the highest traffic pages on our website are actually based on long form content. So nothing wrong with that. Yeah. All right. So that were all the questions. We're sort of coming up on time here. If anyone wants to dig into this, this is the book that is freely available on Spotify. What we will do, we'll actually send a follow-up email just with the link to this, but literally you can go to your Spotify app, search on Love at First Sight. You can listen to it in the car. There's actually a whole chapter in there around content. So that might just be some good food for thought. Thanks, Peter. That's a link to the book. You'll actually grab the link off that page as well. And I just encourage you all to go forth and share your magic, your unique brilliance with the world. And if you do that, then you're probably going to get some great results off the back of Google. I can hang around, and if anyone else has any sort of questions or queries, here we go, Mike. You made reference to video being hosted on YouTube. Does Google favor YouTube over Wistia or Vimeo? I'm a fan of YouTube, and the reason being, like, say Wistia and Vimeo actually have a better user experience in terms of the customization of that video. What you can do, like, Google own YouTube. I want to use Google's products. So by me inputting a YouTube video on my landing pages, it shows to Google that I'm using their products. Also, the second largest search engine in the world just happens to be YouTube as well. So anyone typing in, say, web designer Gold Coast, I'm then giving myself the opportunity to potentially get found through YouTube as well. That's probably like a little bit more of a long shot, but my preference is to use YouTube. So that would be my answer to that, Mike.
Hey, John, you got a question there from James as well on the Q&A.
Did I miss that? Do you want to just read that out to me?
Yeah,
Oh, James.
Can SEM Rush help you anticipate what your competitors might be planning based on searches that end up on their site?
Based on their site. So what you can do, you can, through SEM Rush, you can actually see a complete list of all the different keywords that a competitor is getting found for. And then what that allows you to do is go and maybe cherry pick, or you think they are absolutely dominating that specific keyword. I'm just going to like concede defeat and walk away from that keyword, but maybe try some other opportunities. So that's for me where you can use some more of that in-depth competitor analysis to actually see what's working for some competitors. Maybe there's a competitor that's working in like a different geographical space and there's no overlap. So that's where you can go and cherry pick potentially some other sort of keywords. So I'm not sure whether that answers the question, but there's a heap of depth that you can go into just around the competitors as well. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've done pretty well. What we'll do, we might wrap it up. I want to say
Oh,
big thanks.
you got one more there, John.
Oh, sorry.
Stephen, can you tell us more about the book? Is it recommended to work through that first before approaching you?
Look, it's a pretty punchy read in the fact that you can get through it in about 2 to 3 hours. There are lots of pretty pictures as well, so it's a pretty short, punchy read. We aimed it to be for a business owner that can literally like go through it in a weekend, to give them the foundations, the fundamentals that they need to just go into a process more informed, more educated. So look, it is a good process to go through, but if you want to reach out and have a chat as well, that's okay as well. Cool. Any more questions in there, mate? Sorry, they're not refreshing.
Yeah, no, that was the last of them on Q&A. So I think that's everyone answered.
Beautiful. Thanks, everyone. Have an amazing afternoon. We'll set up a recording of this, and if anyone wants to reach out, sing out. Thanks for showing up.